Welcome back everyone to my new series called Truck Request. This is going to be for all the base game vehicles from 2020 that potentially have been kind of left in the dark. And this is just a video to show some configurations and how I would use these vehicles, the tire setups, and overall, are they viable still in 2026 with so many vehicles coming out, power creeping them all? Yes, they can power creep them even though it's not a PvP game. Still, there's been so many strong DLC options that have kind of left these other vehicles from the non-DLCs from the base game just overshadowed right now. So this is my first vehicle that I ever did a review on in 2021. This is where my journey started on YouTube, where I just essentially wanted to just give as much information as a passion project to people in this game. I'm a huge guy on just acquiring information and understanding what are upsides, downsides, and then basically using that to tailor it to my gameplay and I guess maybe probably a mid-max type of scenario. Anyways, if you guys want to see the next vehicle from the base game, yes, the base game trucks, please add a comment on what base game truck you want to see next as a truck request, and the most upvoted comment will be the next video that I do on a base game truck for this. So moving on here, the Fleetstar F2070 Alpha. In my first review, I asked the question on the title, can it handle endgame maps? And my answer to that is, I think it depends on the driver. The truck itself doesn't have any type of standout qualities that a lot of vehicles being added today have. It's essentially the vehicle that kind of was the training wheels to show us how to play this game. Has a lot of downsides, but it has enough upsides to get us that satisfaction and teach us principles of off-roading if you actually apply them. And this is one that I didn't really appreciate until I started actually making videos on it. So we'll talk about how I would set this truck up, but essentially top engine shared with the Western Star 4964. I think it's 155,000 torque. Pretty good consumption, off-road gearbox. And I'm going to use the Jat tires because they are a little bit wider than the normal OG tires. So I want to have a wider footprint down on the earth to keep me, I guess, on my wheels longer, even though it's probably a small margin of a footprint width there. I'll take what I can get. So that's kind of my play style. I try to mitigate weaknesses and try to build on strengths. And for add-ons here, because the truck is notably not stable, let's just be quite honest here, I would probably stay away from very heavy add-ons. If you're a good driver, I would say then go ahead, knock yourself out. If you want to have a challenge, go ahead, knock yourself out. But for newer players that kind of don't understand how to keep this thing on its wheels, or just they're kind of rather newer, and you can get yourself tipped over pretty quick in this truck. Like I said, it does teach you the game, and I believe if you can master keeping this on its wheels, you definitely can jump in most vehicles in the game and have success. A configuration I probably wouldn't use is the low saddle, just because the frame length here is going to cause collision, and then that's going to lift up your front axles and you're not gonna be able to steer for a little bit. You can get away with this. I have gotten away with this in areas that are not as much up and down. So just kind of keep that in mind there. But most likely the stratagem that I'm gonna use is going to be kind of staying away from heavy add-ons, even though I will use this as like a tanker at some point because it still is a good off-roader. Which is kind of crazy as like the base game starter truck. It still is actually a pretty good off-roader, even though it doesn't stand out in, you know, all these other areas that most vehicles do today. So it does have a good many add-ons that I would still say you can use, but it's going to be, like I said, up to your comfort. So something about the Fleetstar is that we did not mention is its steering. It has a very fast pace steering control, and it recenters really quick. It's actually, I would think it's about the same as the Tega 6436, which most people use for speedrunning, and it just helps with maneuverability, being able to quickly catch yourself if you're going off balance, steering into your tip, stuff of those sorts. So I love that. So if you're not using the settings, game, steering wheel configuration here for controller, I recommend you do, because what happens is when you let go of your controls, it recenters your tire. This is really helpful, actually, especially with just precision driving. I use it a lot. It's changed the way I play the game. It's helped quite a bit. So Fleetstar here, this is probably the configuration I would most likely use. You probably could couple that with a hitch trailer. You can see I just almost tipped over there. So those are considerations you want to try to keep it on its wheels. Watching where you're placing tires. Using the hitch trailer, I would say be aware that if you don't have weight down on aft axles via some type of cargo in the bed, you're going to be, I don't want to use the term griefing yourself, but I'm going to say you're harming your off-road ability, because weight that is being drugged behind you is just dead weight. It's not really helping you in any way. Weight that is down on aft axles or just on the truck in general is pressing into the earth, which drives traction. This is something laid down by Sabre in 2020 February, 2 months prior to the game releasing, and also this is outlined in a lot of my videos that I talk about, even truck reviews, and also my mud running tips, which is spearheaded by Max Power. Thank you, Max, for that. Anyways, this truck is one that I didn't give a lot of credit to starting out. I'm not gonna lie. May of 2020 was when I started playing this game, and the Fleetstar was quickly a vehicle that I was absolutely terrified to go off-roading with, because in 2020 there wasn't a lot of information on how to effectively navigate. The principles of off-roading, adding weight to rear wheels, applying diff lock, all those things, there wasn't a ton of information out in 2020 on those things. Most YouTube channels were just ushering people toward super trucks, like at the time, I think, or I would say, top end trucks, which are like Tega, Azovs, etc. And those all have always on all-wheel drive diff lock. So for me, I was terrified to take this thing off road. I would always get stuck with it. I think I restarted my game a couple times. I found videos, people saying the Paystar was one of the better trucks to use, so I did that. I was displeased. It's kind of funny, the perspective of 2020 compared to 2025. So at that point, I restarted the game again. I went around and grabbed all the trucks you could find in Black River, all the trailers. I brought them back, sold them, and I purchased the Azov 64131. And that's kind of where I just used that vehicle for the majority of my hauls for roughly 800 hours. In some ways, I would use some other trucks here and there, but I'm going to say it kind of just ruined my experience. So after I lost my game file after 800 hours, after completing Yukon, I said, you know what? I'm going to start making a channel as a passion project to help me be a better game, to enjoy this game, because I really loved it at the time, and I still do, which is why I'm still playing it. And I wanted to bring information to people that I didn't feel there was a lot of information in the community about, is the in-depth reviews. And that's essentially where I kind of took my channel, and that's kind of where it's been centered around. So after that, in 2023, Naked Dave approached me about, or actually someone approached me about a randomizer, and I approached Naked Dave about it, and that's where I started playing the randomizer, and that is actually on the channel. And even before the randomizer, I did like the Fleetstar. I did think it definitely taught us the game. If you really put in work with this vehicle, it really does teach you the game. It's like trial by fire, but it's so rewarding whenever you can get it to work and have success with it. But I didn't really hold too much value in it until I played the randomizer. And here's the reason why. The randomizer denied me a all-wheel drive upgrade. And even though I didn't have that all-wheel drive upgrade, I had diff lock. And just applying weight on aft axles and diff lock, I was able to do some pretty amazing things in this vehicle just from those. Just taking what I've understood about the vehicle, weight on aft wheels and stuff like that, and diff lock in a sense too as well. And I just applied it, and after that, man, I just started to really love this vehicle even more. So one thing I do really love about the Fleetstar also is just a nostalgic feel. The grumbliness of the motor, just the way it drives. It just kind of brings me back. And every now and then, I kind of need that because I feel like there's just so many up and coming, brand new machinery that come out, and we're just like, we kind of just forget about all the OGs. And this is kind of the video I wanted to make, is kind of an appreciation. So to answer the question, how does it perform in 2026? Well, I'll say this. If you can get away with using it in the hardest map in the game, or hardest region, I would say, in the game, which is still Amur, in some places, you will not use it in all of Amur. I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. Like, taking it over to get warehouse troubles on Urska River, that's just not gonna be a thing. Unless you're just playing Winch Runner. I don't think anybody really wants to do that. But that's not really gonna be a thing. But if you can get away with using it in some of the harder regions, which I think you can, with a little bit of patience and definitely attention to detail, it's going to perform pretty well in most areas. The Year 3 maps and even the latter Year 2 maps are very friendly for base game vehicles. Even the Year 4 maps, I think the Year 4 maps have stepped it up, I think, a little bit in terms of difficulty, I guess, in comparison to the Year 3 pass maps, especially with Quebec, because Quebec is pretty it's pretty tough. But in my opinion, if you can make it work there, I think even in 2026, with whatever maps they put out here in the Year 5 pass, because I do believe we are going to have a Year 5 pass, and it will be announced most likely soon, the Fleetstar still can hold up. And I think it's going to boil down to if players have enough patience like they did in 2020. So I would say, for those who are new and struggling with the game, I think using the Fleetstar and becoming familiar with it, keeping it on its wheels, crushing missions, you'll just appreciate every truck you get after that. And I think that's kind of where I've always based performance from, is how did the Fleetstar do, and then I work up from there. And that's kind of where you have to kind of start, is from the beginning, and then you kind of understand how a truck performs, and then you see what other trucks perform against that. So anyways, y'all, please comment for the next truck you want to see in the truck request. This is a Fleetstar. I absolutely love it. I will probably try to continue to use it as long as I can. And let me know in the comments what you want to see next. The most upvoted comment in the comments section will be the next base game truck we check out. So for 2026, signing off here, I believe the Fleetstar will still be a good member of your fleet if you know how to drive it. So until next time, y'all, God bless and stay upright.